How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So Packers training camp has officially concluded, at least the portion that's open to the public. Today was day 15 and the final practice open to the public for the Packers. So in this video, let's recap and break down everything that happened in the final practice. The Packers also have their final preseason game this Saturday versus the Seahawks, and then cut down to 53-man roster is on Tuesday. Matt LaFleur had his press conference before practice as usual, and one of the takeaways was him talking about Innis Gaines. LaFleur says that Gaines has the movement skills you look for in the slot and brings a physical presence. We saw Innis Gaines return to practice yesterday and then get praise this morning from Matt LaFleur, and that's kind of why I have him making my 53-man roster as of right now. Now, that could change over the weekend when we go into the Seattle game and depending on who gets snaps where, but as of right now, Gaines is that backup slot cornerback. He offers versatility at safety. He's a core special teams player, and I think he can just do a lot for this Packers football team, and I think Matt LaFleur obviously likes him, so that's why I have him making the 53-man roster, and it helps that he returned to practice this week, so we'll see what he does in the Seattle game. Now, going over the injury updates from today's practice, it was another rest day for David Bakhtiari. We saw him rest yesterday and rest today. Now, the heat index was over 100 degrees, so I'd understand why maybe not pushing players to practice, and on top of that, they've been very comfortable with having Bakhtiari rest most days of practice. He'll be ready to go week 1 at left tackle, and he'll still be playing at a high level. Also, no players that were on the injury report returned today. So Dontavian Wicks, Tarvarius Moore, Henry Pearson, Lewan, Stokes, Nichols, Goodson, Devondre Campbell, Luke Tenuta, and Bo Melton are all still out. Now, during practice, 3 players did drop out of practice today and didn't return. First and foremost, Devonte Wyatt, but that more so looked like a heat issue. Again, it was heat index over 100 degrees, so he was likely dehydrated and he didn't go back into practice because of that. I don't think it was any injury. Darnell Savage was one that did leave practice due to a potential injury. During team sessions, he did collide with Romeo Doubs and didn't look too great getting up and walking off the field. Doubs was okay. He returned to practice, but Savage did not. And then finally, Anthony Johnson Jr. Didn't even start practice. He came out of the Don Hutson Center already limping, then went back into the Don Hutson Center, then came back out with a knee wrap around his left knee. So definitely something to monitor there. Before we get into the recap for the offense and the defense, if you guys are a new viewer to this channel and want more Packers news analysis and updates almost every single day on this channel, if you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers, go down and click that subscribe button. It really supports my channel. I appreciate you guys. All right, so now moving on to the starters from today's practice. It was Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, Luke Musgrave, and DeGuara at tight end. Now, there was one difference here at wide receiver. It was Christian Watson and Malik Heath. So Malik Heath got some reps with the ones today, at least in warm-ups. I don't think that says anything against Romeo Doubs. Of course, I think they're just trying to see Malik Heath in the offense with the ones, at least in a practice aspect. I'm sure he'll get a ton of snaps in the Seattle game. And as of right now, you know, I have him making the 53-man roster just based off of what he's done all of training camp, all of these preseason games. The guy just continues to make plays. Now moving on to the team portions of offense. So yesterday, if you watched my video, we talked about how Jordan Love had a great day of practice and was making a ton of great throws. Today was another good practice for Jordan Love. His first rep of 7v7s, he found Jayden Reed for a 60-yard touchdown where Keyshawn Nixon actually slipped, but nonetheless, Jayden Reed and Jordan Love just continuing that connection that we've seen building this entire training camp and preseason. Right now, he's definitely the starting slot wide receiver, and he'll get plenty of snaps as early as week 1 as that slot guy, motion guy, and even punt return. Then during 11v11s, Love found Reed again on a deep crosser, so I love seeing that rapport building. So we saw Love early in training camp, you know, continue to build a rapport with Romeo Doubs. Then as of late, he found Christian Watson in some of these practices for deep touchdowns, and now it seems like him and Jayden Reed are really getting on the same page, which is going to be very important for this offense because Jayden Reed, one of those players that's going to be utilizing the middle of the field, which it seems like the Packers are going to be doing a lot more of this year. So when you have guys like Jayden Reed and Luke Musgrave, those guys can utilize the middle of the field, so it's going to be very important to be on the same page as your quarterback, and it looks like Jayden Reed has been doing great at that. Another thing I noticed in training camp and also today's practice is there's a lot of timed out route throws by Jordan Love to both Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. So definitely a route he likes, that timing out route. He's hit both Watson and Doubs on that concept and did it again today. There was a play in today's practice that was a wow play by Jordan Love. He hit Tucker Kraft up the seam after basically throwing a no-look pass freezing all the linebackers and allowing Tucker Kraft to sneak behind them for a 30-yard gain. Just a very nice play by Jordan Love. Love also found Christian Watson on a deep crosser on a play action play, something the Packers have been running a lot this whole offseason. They feel like they've been running a ton of play action. Seems like every preseason game, the first 2 or 3 drives when Jordan Love is out there, seems like half of those plays are play action, which I'm all for. Play action statistically helps your offense. Even if you don't establish the run game, it still statistically works. So I'm all for the Packers using that, and I think it will help this offense and allow Jordan Love to get out of the pocket and extend plays. Love also had a really nice throw to Luke Musgrave on a corner route from the 10-yard line. Musgrave did go up and catch it, but only got 1 foot down. So obviously rookies coming into the NFL have to get used to getting both feet down. Definitely a catch Musgrave should have made. Nonetheless, a really good throw by Jordan Love. And those two have also been connecting very well during training camp. The Packers have been using Musgrave a lot in a multitude of different ways. I'm just excited for both of these rookies on offense, Jayden Reed and Musgrave, come week 1. Now, Love did have one mistake in today's practice. It wasn't 100% perfect, but that's going to happen. So during his 2-minute drill, he actually threw an interception. It was Rasul Douglas who jumped a stop route by Romeo Doubs. It was a very impressive play by Rasul Douglas. It was a little bit of a late throw by Jordan Love, but that was pretty much his sole mistake today. As for the second team offense, Sean Clifford did a really nice job moving the offense in the 2-minute drill. He found Jadakiss Bonds on multiple occasions today, multiple big plays. I think Bonds had a really nice day of practice today. He also, to finish 2-minute drills, found Grant DuBose on a double move for a touchdown where he beat Ennis Gaines. A really nice route by Grant DuBose and a nice job by Clifford finding him wide open. Then the team went for 2 to win 2-minute drills, and he found Watts on a quick slant. So the offense, at least the second team offense, won this 2-minute drill, but the first team offense ended with that interception to Douglas. Now going over the defense, we start with the starters. Nothing new here. Clark, Slayton, and Wyatt, Gary, and Smith. So another team practice by Rashawn Gary, so no setbacks, and he looked great today as well. Quay Walker at inside linebacker. They came out in the nickel, so it was Jair, Douglas, and then Nixon in the slot, and it was again Ford and Savage at safety, at least until Savage checked out. Now, during warmups, interestingly enough, Lucas Van Ness was warming up with the defensive linemen, which he has a ton of versatility. You know, at Iowa, he played pretty much everywhere on that defensive line. Now, when the team portion started, he went back to edge. But I still think the Packers could very well use him in so many different ways, and maybe they're trying to see what they have with him there, at least in warmups, considering Rashawn Gary may be back week 1. And it was also a very good practice by Lucas Van Ness today. Made some nice plays today, had a nice pressure on the left side, forced a bad throw from Jordan Love to Samori Toure on a pressure, and also beat Luke Musgrave to stop a run in the backfield. He's been making flashes all of camp. Now, I know both of the preseason games he really hasn't showed up on the stat sheet if you're looking at just the box score, but when you watch the film, he is making pressures, he's making plays, he's in the right spot. He had a tackle for loss last week, he's had a couple of pressures, and I've been impressed with him so far this offseason. I think he'll be a nice addition to this defense. Enagbare continues his hot streak. He had an explosive tackle for loss in the backfield today. Obviously, we saw what he did in that New England game. Multiple sacks, multiple tackles for loss, the forced fumble, the fumble recovery. Enagbare had a great week of practice last week. Heading into New England, had a great game and also had a nice week of practice this week. He's looking really, really good. I loved his potential last year as a 5th-round rookie. I thought he jumped right onto the scene and stepped up to the plate. So the Packers have a ton of depth, just a ton of talent in that edge room right now, especially with Rashawn Gary returning. They have so many options in the edge room, and I think they very well could keep 6 guys, the 6th guy being Brenton Cox Jr., who also shows a ton of potential. And I always say this, you can never have enough guys to rush the passer. The 2 rookie defensive linemen also had nice days of practice today. Colby Wooden had a nice run stuff, and Carl Brooks continues to be disruptive and create pressures and had a would-be sack today. Both of these guys have been super impressive. If you're a frequent viewer of this channel, you know how high I am on Carl Brooks, even before he was drafted by the Packers, and he's showing exactly why I was so high on him. This guy just lives in opponents' backfields. We saw that in New England, making multiple splash plays. He's done it pretty much all of training camp. I think he's going to get a significant amount of snaps year 1 as that rotational defensive lineman. Same with Colby Wooden. Both of these guys look really, really good so far, and I think the Packers just have more versatility and depth on their defensive line than they have in years past. As for some defensive back stuff, Corey Ballentine and Innis Gaines have been getting a lot of looks the past 2 days since returning to practice. We saw them out of practice last week with injuries. They returned yesterday, and both of them have been getting a lot of looks. Both of them are likely fighting for one spot, that cornerback 5, and as of right now, it's Innis Gaines for me, as I stated earlier. Ballentine, in my opinion, hasn't had, a great training camp. He's been beat a lot in practice, and I just think Innis Gaines offers more versatility, and both can play special teams, so it's not like one does and one doesn't. So as of right now, the edge goes to Innis Gaines, but like I said, we still have one preseason game remaining. And then finally for defense, Rasul Douglas has been great all camp. As I mentioned earlier with the Jordan Love mistake, he had the interception today. He's been really good in coverage against Romeo Doubs. Now, Romeo Doubs has been good too and has made plays during camp, but Rasul Douglas has been really, really good in camp, and I'm excited for him to finally be back outside cornerback opposite Jair Alexander on this defense. Then to wrap things up, quickly going over one note I have on special teams, Keyshawn Nixon and Jaden Reed were taking reps at punt return. So Jaden Reed looks really, really natural at punt return, and I believe he will be the starting punt return with Nixon at kick return, but I also think Reed's going to get a lot of snaps on offense, so, if he turns into something really, really massive on offense, you might not necessarily want him at punt return, but for his rookie season, I think it would be okay to keep him at punt return and see what he can do there. He looks very natural, and he did it a lot at Michigan State, and he could, be a big playmaker in that regard. So that does it for Green Bay Packers 2023 training camp, at least the portions that are open to the public. Now, when there's more training camp practices until week 1 that it's open to the media, still expect updates on this channel. But seriously, I really appreciate you guys coming to my channel every day there's practice to get your Packers news. But that about does it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. It supports my channel a ton, but I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.